All right, there we go. Looks like we're all set. Good morning again. Welcome everybody to day 2 of Trails Technical Review. Thanks for being here. Fife is here to start our day. So I'm going to get your PowerPoint pulled up, Sheffield Trail Repair. And Megan, I'm going to stop my video and then pass control to you.
Okay.
And there you are. All right, click on the screen. You should be able to take that. All right, looks good. Whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for this opportunity to present the Sheffield Trail Repair and ADA Upgrade Project. My name is Megan Jendrick, and I'm the Parks, Recreation, and Aquatics Director for the City of Fife. Fife is seeking $790,000 in RCO funds to leverage $1,073,000 in local and public cash match to widen and repair Sheffield Trail and add ADA upgrades. Fife is located in Pierce County and has a population of 10,999 based off the 2020 US Census. We are a unique city because we're very small and wedged directly between Tacoma and Federal Way. When it comes to the public needs and current inventory, Fife has 5.66 miles of trails throughout the city. However, there's a need for much more. In our 2021 Pros Plan survey, 91% of survey respondents supported expanding walking and biking trails. Additionally, numerous comments were made about improving the safety, security, and conditions of our trails through the addition of security lighting, widening of trails, ADA improvements, and vegetation improvements to increase sites in the more remote locations. This project addresses priorities for underserved populations by providing a highly requested, free outdoor recreational activity that acts as an equity stabilizer within our community. This specific trail also improves transportation from neighboring apartment complexes and a retirement community to the only grocery store in Fife, the Fife Library, and to the new Fife Elementary and High School. Excuse me. This map shows all of the current trails within the Fife city limits. In addition to improving the conditions of our trails, we're also working on connections within our city. For instance, from Sheffield Trail, a trail user could connect to Brookville Gardens Park down here, and a FedEx Trail to the south with only a very short walk on a sidewalk. And to the north, trails with a short stint on the 20th Street, trail users could connect to Interurban Trail right here. The intended use for Sheffield Trails for pedestrians and bicyclists. This trail would also serve as a Lahar evacuation route. In the event of a Lahar evacuation, Sheffield Trail would be used to evacuate people on foot or bikes from the neighboring apartments to the north to Interurban Trail and to higher ground. As you can see from the data on the left, expanding walking trails was the top priority in our 2022 Pros Plan as requested by the public, receiving 91% support. Additionally, expanding walking and biking options received 86% support from the community. In Fife, this project was called out and adopted in our 2022 Pros Plan, as well as resolution number 2042. So as you can see, this project not only has support from our community, but it's also one that our city council is on board with. Sheffield Trail project went to the Planning Commission on June 6th of this year, yesterday, and a public hearing will be held next week on June 14th. This project is set to be formally added to the TIP on June 28th. The project also meets RCO goals by improving equity within the community, by providing free and recreational activities that are highly supported and valued by our community members. It meets the needs of youth by providing access to the library, elementary school, and high school. It addresses changing demographics by making it safer for families that want to utilize it and usable for people with mobility issues. It asserts recreation and conservation as a vital public service by improving a trail that will be used for generations to come. And lastly, it sustains and grows the legacy of parks by rehabilitating and expanding a highly utilized trail so future generations can experience outdoor recreation and improved transportation. This slide shows the existing conditions of Sheffield Trail. The south end portion of the trail was badly damaged by roots underneath the trail surface, making early repairs mission critical. This trail is also too narrow to move machinery onto. Funding would enable the city to control routes, widen the trail, add security lighting and wayfinding signage, and make it more user-friendly. Additionally, we have received complaints that the vegetation is not conducive for safe walking or biking, as it's very thick and hangs low on the trail, making it difficult to ride a bike. Users have also expressed concern over the lack of security lighting. These next two slides contain information obtained from the grant application data tool on the RCO website. All information is specific to the census tract outlined in blue, which Sheffield Trail is located. When it comes to the median household income, this location is on par with the Washington state average, bringing in only $54 more per year than the state average. Fife nearly doubles the Washington state average for persons of color, coming in at 59% of the population compared to 31%. Fife's disabled population is lower than the state average of 13%, coming in at 8%. And this location is slightly higher than the state body mass index average of 22.94%, with 23.2% of kids ages 16 to 19 having a high BMI rating. And Fife's mortality rating of 819.96 per 100,000 people comes in significantly higher than the statewide average of 682.91, showing a need for additional recreational activities. As you can see from this picture, the blue, yellow, purple, and orange lines all connect for a continuous trail. The orange line on the map represents Sheffield Trail, and going north and utilizing the sidewalk on 20th Street, users can connect to the interurban trail, which is a regional connector. To the south, users can, with a small stint across Valley Avenue, which has a flashing beacon crosswalk, users can connect to Brookville Gardens Park and FedEx Trail. As you can see from the picture, Sheffield Trail links directly to Brookville Gardens Park to the south and Fife Library to the north. Additionally, the Bella Sonoma Apartments, Port Landing Apartments, and the Sheffield Place Retirement Community all have openings from their properties directly to Sheffield Trail. And the Willow Green Apartments and Rainier Point Apartments are directly across the street from the North End trailhead. This trail also serves a number of Fife School District students who walk or ride their bike and prefer to stay off the main arterials. With improvements made to this trail, we also expect many bicyclists and pedestrians will use it more instead of using 70th Avenue, which is highly utilized by semis. The city currently has a 7-foot easement where the trail lies. The trail itself is 5 feet wide and has a 1-foot buffer on either side. The city has already had discussions with the neighboring warehouse owners to extend the easement another 12 feet, enabling us to widen the trail substantially. The warehouse owners have been on board with these discussions, and an appraisal was recently conducted with the city and warehouse representatives on site. Although the warehouse has no additional use for the land we are requesting and no threat of the land being used for different purposes is presented, the quality and use of the trail will continue to diminish without the ability to widen it. The picture on the right shows how badly the trail is sloping into the ditch, and continued root damage will make the trail impassable soon, if not reconstructed. When it comes to the accuracy of the estimate, we consulted with KPG on the conceptual design and cost estimate. The cost estimate has built-in inflation factors for construction beginning in 2023. Design specifications were based off the Washington State Department of Transportation Design Manuals 1510 and 1515, pedestrian facilities and shared use paths. All design standards incorporate ADA compliant access points and site amenities. Some of the problems we've run into with the current trail include it being too narrow. There's significant damage to the trail caused from tree roots since there was no root barrier initially installed. And due to the amount of vegetation, safety and security has become a big issue. The new design not only widens the trail and adds root barrier, but it also adds security lighting and vegetation that includes the right tree in the right place. This will allow enough space for pedestrians and bicycles to use that trail at the same time without conflict and add safety and security to the path. Additionally, by widening the trail, our maintenance crews will be able to get machinery down it for ease of maintenance, which they're not currently able to do. A wayfinding sign will be placed at the south end trailhead, and a flashing beacon crosswalk has already been installed in the parking lot of Brookville Gardens Park to assist trail users who need to cross Valley Avenue. Brookville Gardens Park is the lot that will be utilized for trail users who do not enter the trail from one of the adjacent apartment complexes. On the environmental side of things, improvements include adding the right vegetation in the right place. Our team is consulting with an arborist to ensure we don't run into the same problems the trail is currently experiencing, with substantial root damage, the wrong types of trees bordering the trail, and vegetation so thick safety concerns arise. When it comes to the social side, this trail encourages physical activity and social engagement to nearby users, especially those living in the apartment complexes bordering the trail. Local childcare facilities and the Boy Scouts of America have also reached out to voice their support over the widening of the trail and improvements made for ADA access and security. This trail improves access not only to the grocery store in Fife and the library. Fife also participates in an annual Trails Day event, which takes place each July. This event brings together community volunteers and trail users who engage in cleanup and restoration efforts. Improvements made to the trail not only make it look more user-friendly and greatly extend the lifespan, they also greatly reduce the maintenance costs by widening the trail to the point that machinery can go up and down it. At this point, all maintenance is done by hand as the trail is too narrow for machinery. Although there are no mountain views from Sheffield Trail, the trail serves as a connector to Brookville Gardens Park, which is about a 2-minute walk down the road. From Brookville Gardens Park, there's incredible views of Mount Rainier. And unfortunately, in this picture, it was a cloudy day, but the mountain does show up right here where there's no clouds. Our team has worked hard to ensure that all native pollinator-friendly habitat-creating plants are incorporated as part of this project. Our goal is to create a better environment for bees by providing plants that are pollinator-friendly in an effort to increase the honeybee population. These plants will benefit the wildlife by producing numerous flowers to help support the bee population. When it comes to project support, we conducted a citywide Parks and Rec survey, which received 449 responses. We also conducted an online open house, which received 154 responses from the public. In addition to our PROS plan being adopted, this project was also adopted by our City Council through resolution number 2042. And to date, we've received 5 letters of support. Those letters of support have come from the Fife School District, the Forever Green Trails Association, Boy Scouts of America, the Pierce County Library System, and Munchkin Land Childcare. At this point, we have a match of $1,073,000 with $998,000 coming from the Department of Commerce and city funding in the amount of $75,000. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Megan. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Questions or comments from the committee for the Fife project? Betsy, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for your presentation. I had a couple questions. One, in looking at the cost estimates, I was wondering if the retaining walls were included in the trail development costs.
Yes, they are.
Okay, it looked a little bit low to me, but I know it sounds like you guys are working on those cost estimates with a consultant. So it was just something that I was curious about.
KPG did come back to us a couple of weeks ago and let us know about a couple different retaining wall options that would increase the price. But at this point, with their baseline, those are included in the cost estimate.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then my other question is, I think the obvious need, to widen the trail. And while you're at it, while you're going through this process, especially in our highly populated areas for multi-use trails, we are typically starting to see widths of about 12 feet paved rather than 10 feet. And in some cases, like for example, in King County, I know that, they're thinking of expanding them even wider than that. And I just would urge y'all to consider, as you're already thinking about making it wider, potentially making it even a bit wider, just to make it as future compatible as possible.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Betsy. Other comments or questions?
It was a really good presentation. I just had one comment on the map. I think it was the current inventory. It could just be improved. It didn't really pop it. It seemed like the green was really faded, which I think showed the parklands or something. So just maybe brighten up the map a little bit more so it's a little bit clearer.
Okay, will do. Thank you, Lori.
Sure.
Anthony.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Just to add on this map, it may be meaningful to add a pointer or icon to the library. I was looking at a map overlay while you were doing the presentation, and the walk towards the library actually looks sort of pretty with that sidewalk. So I think that could add some pizzazz.
Perfect.
One other comment is slash question is, you mentioned the demographic makeup, having a higher percentage population of people of color. It may be helpful to see if you could, what type of support you're getting from those communities or organizations when it comes to public support for this trail.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.
Thanks. Other questions or comments? Not seeing any other hands. Megan, I thought on this one here, you point out the interurban trail, but it might be good to like show it with a solid line of a different color or something, to just to show how close it is and which way it goes and extends. So there's an opportunity, even though it's currently like a sidewalk connection, but if it's a good continuous sidewalk from the end of this trail so folks can get safely to that trail, that might be nice to display that.
Okay. Make it more prominent on this map specifically.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I kind of think I know which way it goes, but just to show it, like you show the FedEx trail down below.
Okay.
Andy, go ahead.
Getting there. Does the FedEx trail have an intersection with the interurban?
Sorry, what was the question?
Does the FedEx trail have a connection with the interurban?
It does, with a short stint on the sidewalk along 20th Street.
Okay, all right. But that is if your plan were to go forward, that would be a closer connection to interurban than the northern one you're proposing, than the northern one you show?
No, actually, if you look at this map right here, FedEx Trail is right down here. It connects to Brookville Gardens Park, and then
Right.
through Brookville, it connects up to Sheffield Trail and across to 20th. And the interurban trailhead is actually at the intersection of 20th and 70th Street and heads north.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Good. Anything else from the committee? Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thanks, Megan, for your presentation. I'm not sure if my video's on yet. Anyway, I just to kind of follow up on what everyone's saying here, I think this map in particular, the one that's on the screen, maybe you show the whole context, but zooming in on the area, it's kind of hard. Everything's very small from a viewing perspective. The words are a little bit small. So you might want to just, even if you present this one, then have one that you zoom into so you can show these connections a little bit more immediately around the trail. That'd be helpful for me. Anyway.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good. Anything else on the Fife project? All righty, not seeing anything. Well, thank you, Megan, for joining us. Appreciate it. You'll be getting some written comments as well when your grant manager returns your application.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your time.
All right, bye-bye. We'll see you again in August.
All right, perfect.
Oh, hold on. Here, let go of the mouse for a minute. I think I have to like turn off the remote control. There you go. Now you can, now you can get there.
All right, thank you.
All right, see you later. All right, everybody, we had one project drop, so we're scheduled for a break, a little ahead of schedule. Why don't we try to come back at 10 o'clock? We'll stay 5 minutes ahead of schedule. And just a quick note for advisory committee members. Yesterday, we talked about the design trail use and managed trail use. We were able to turn on that metric. So now in the review and evaluation module on the left-hand side, if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see the one primary designated use, but right below that, you'll also see the managed uses. So you'll see the if it's a multiple use trail, you'll see the list of whatever they're allowing on this trail. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And that should display on all the projects now. So you could go back to the ones that we looked at yesterday and see that. So, all right, come on back at 10 o'clock and we'll get going with Linwood.
Hey, Carl, it's Monica. I'm going to be advancing the slides for Sarah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
All right, we'll give folks just one more minute to make sure they're back. Hey, Sarah.
Good morning. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, welcome back. Okay. All right, 10 o'clock. Let's get going here. Let me turn off my video. And Monica, you said give you control, right? For the slides, okay. All right, there we go. See if you can click on the screen and get that.
Thank you. Let me test. Is it down or over, or does it matter?
Down or to the right on your keyboards should work. There it goes.
There's a delay there. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes just a delay of a few seconds. Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Sarah Olson, Deputy Director of the City of Linwood's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department, here with our Senior Park Planner, Monica Thompson, and Grant Consultant, Ashley Knapp. Our project will transform the Scriber Creek Trail into a well-connected linear park for walking and biking. The City of Linwood is 10 miles north of Seattle in South Snohomish County on Interstate 5.
You're seeing it here, folks. I'm not advancing. Any tricks? Oh, okay. That was a big delay. Sorry, Sarah. I'm not sure.
Scriber Creek Trail is a 1 mile spur off the regional interurban trail within the South Linwood neighborhood and adjacent to Linwood City Center. Phase 1 begins wrapping around the Linwood Transit Center and is being constructed by Sound Transit. Phase 2 meanders through Scriber Creek Park to Sprague's Pond Park. This phase, the third and final phase, connects at Sprague's Pond Park and runs north-south through Scriber Lake Park, terminating at Wilcox Park. A separate project will renovate the boardwalk trail within Scriber Lake Park in the next 2 years to create a fully accessible half-mile loop that connects to this trail. 1. Need. The existing Scriber Creek Trail is prone to flooding, making it unsuitable for year-round use. The trail includes 2 stream crossings that annually flood November to April. Its current condition is narrow in width, has sharp line corners, and an uneven surface. Alternating between soft surface and uneven hard surface, it's in poor condition for walking and biking. Residents told us they feel unsafe because the limited visibility creates a sensation of isolation. The trail alignment is adjacent to 196th Street Southwest, which is a 35-mile-per-hour, 5-lane road. The trail is an informal 2-foot wide asphalt path with non-ADA compliant crossing at this signal. Despite these conditions, this trail serves a lot of walkers, runners, and bikers. Cell phone data has shown that from 2018 to 2020, we had nearly 500,000 visits. Given the flooding, it sees lower usage in the winter and peak usage in the summer. With the pandemic, all of our parks and trails saw a significant spike in use in spring 2020, which was 55% higher than in 2019. This shows trips by cyclists and walking, showing that most trail users are pedestrians, which is to be expected for a narrow trail with mixed surfaces and flooding issues. By renovating the trail, we expect usage to drastically increase, especially with the opening of Link Light Rail Station in 2024, which is projected to serve 18,000 daily riders by 2035. The city center is anticipated to develop more than 9 million square feet of dense transit-oriented development, which is projected to accommodate an additional 3,000 residential units and 15,000 jobs. This growth will increase demand for recreational hiking, walking, and biking in the area. Scriber Creek Trail and the Interurban Trail are the city's only road-separated trails. All other trails are sidewalks or bike lanes along roads, which are not ideal for recreational walking and biking. Over 3,900 residents live within a 10-minute walk of this phase, of which 58% are non-white and 28% of households are low income. Our project area meets 4 out of 5 metrics for underserved populations, with median household income $20,000 below the state's average, person of color's population almost double the state's average, and disabled population above the state's average, and why we're improving ADA accessibility, especially for nearby senior housing residents who have a variety of mobility challenges. Additionally, 15% of the census tract relies on public transit. The BMI is above the state's and the mortality rate is below the state's. Recognizing the importance of this trail for linking the city together and connecting neighbors, this project is named in numerous plans, including the city's 2021 comprehensive plan, the 2022 park plan update, and the 2022 to 2027 capital facilities plan. Scriber Creek Trail's 2017 Linwood Transit Center Multimodal Accessibility Plan is a plan to support high levels of transit ridership, names this project as a key strategy for pedestrian and bicycle access over a dozen other projects studied. Similarly, Sound Transit and the city's development agreement includes Scriber Creek Trail to support access to the light rail station. The trail's connectivity to the interurban follows the 2007 Linwood City Center sub-area plan. And in 2022, the Connect Linwood Plan, our long-term vision and near-term action plan for improving walking and bicycling, will be adopted. This includes sidewalk improvements on 196th Street, which was named by the community as the highest priority project, which this project resolves with safer crossing and road separated trail. The project also meets the community identified goal of having many ways to get around the neighborhood from the 2021 South Linwood Neighborhood Plan. 2, linkages between trails. The 1-mile Scriber Creek Trail joins the 18-mile Interurban Trail, which connects North Seattle to Greenwood, Shoreline, Esperance, Mount Lake Terrace, and Everett with Linwood. Having been built on a historic trolley line, the Interurban is the most significant all ages and abilities urban trail in Snohomish County. It also links to the 18-mile Burke-Gilman Trail at its southern terminus. Longer term, the 2022 Connect Linwood Plan envisions extending Scriber Creek Trail an additional 3 miles to the north to connect the city center and South Linwood neighborhoods to Lunds Gulch and Meadowdale Beach Park. This new trail will be Linwood's center to sound connection, so more people can enjoy walking and biking throughout the city. 3, linkages between communities. Scriber Creek Trail links 4 parks together through a dense urban neighborhood. This phase of the trail will end at Wilcox Park, which contains a basketball court, playground, and open lawn that's popular for community events. It will also run directly through Scriber Lake Park and connect to its boardwalk loop trail. Scriber Lake Park is 25 acres of unique habitat for a host of wildlife, a hotspot for birding and wildlife viewing, and a rare opportunity for urban fishing. The park's central feature is Scriber Lake with waterfowl, beaver, river otter, and abundant aquatic wildlife. The trail connects with Sprague's Pond Park, which contains a playground and has water access for urban fishing, and Scriber Creek Park, a scenic park with 2 accessible wetland viewpoints, picnic tables, and benches. The trail also connects the South Linwood neighborhood to the city center neighborhood outlined in pink, which contains the future light rail station and is redeveloping from commercial strip malls into dense mixed-use developments full of shops. To the north of the trail is Cedar Valley Community School, the district's highest needs school, where of the 450 students, 79% are non-white, 48% are Hispanic, 42% are English language learners, and 77% are low income. And 2 blocks away is the 296 unit senior housing complex. 5, project design. We are currently developing 60% level plans. Cost estimates are led by our consultant team and are based on recently bid projects in the area and Washington State Department of Transportation unit prices. We've completed SEPA and NEPA. At 60% design, we will be ready to apply for any other long lead environmental permits and be shovel ready by June 2024. Based on the physical properties of the site, the trail has two typical sections shown in green and yellow. The green sections replace the existing 5 to 8 foot wide asphalt and soft surface trail with a 12-foot wide asphalt trail with 2-foot shoulders. The yellow sections are across the creek and through wetlands, so are raised. This boardwalk will replace the existing 6-foot at-surface trail with a 16-foot wide elevated trail. The surfacing is a pervious fiberglass mesh material that is lightweight, resistant to impact, fire, and UV. It does not corrode, biodegrade, or leach chemicals, and it has the longest design life at 50 years. This has been used locally and is performing well. Overall, the renovated trail will add capacity not only because it's being built wider, but it also upgrades the trail for year-round and ADA accessible use. The city has developed an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan that identified 22 barriers along this phase of the project that will be resolved. Existing non-compliant portions of the trail are noted as single barriers, but when totaled, measure almost the entire length of the trail, and including running slopes of 15% and cross slopes upward of 10%. This project will address safety concerns by increasing the width for wider capacity, improving year-round reliability by elevating the trail out of the 100-year floodplain, softening the trail bends to eliminate blind corners, and pulling back vegetation encroaching the trail to create greater visibility. The trail will cross the street at grade. This is an illustration from our phase 2 mid-block street crossing, but the phase 3 crossing will look similar with a 5-foot buffer adjacent to roadway and 14-foot shared use path. The crossing at the intersection reduces user conflicts with improved pavement markings, signing, lighting, and ADA curb ramp, which will be sized to accommodate higher volumes of pedestrian and bicycle traffic. 6, sustainability. This project will improve the natural hydrology of Scriber Creek and wetland complex, as well as add stormwater capacity by removing the fill from the at-grade trail infrastructure. This project improves and converts an existing trail into a multimodal, road-separated trail for active transportation with the connection to the Linwood Transit Center at the south. Today, 15% of the 4,800 daily boardings at the transit center are generated from pedestrians and cyclists. Demand is anticipated to significantly increase in the future with the addition of light rail and rapid bus service, which is expected to attract 18,000 daily riders. With only 1,900 parking spaces on site, most transit riders are expected to travel to the station by alternate means, including walking and biking modes. The Scriber Creek Trail will provide a safe route by foot, bike, or mobility device. This last mile connection allows residents and workers to get to their destinations completely car-free, thus reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, this trail supports future higher density transit-oriented developments in the city center. The area is envisioned as a compact, intense, and lively area that offers new opportunities for culture, commerce, and community living with great walking facilities. 7, water access reviews. Scriber Creek Trail follows its namesake, Scriber Creek, offering views throughout the 1-mile trail, starting with this view from phase 1 at Scriber Creek Park. Then phase 2 includes views of Sprague's Pond, which offer water access for fishing. This phase directly connects to the trail network within Scriber Lake Park, which includes 2 viewpoints and a dock for water views and fishing. We're updating half the park's trails to a boardwalk to create a fully accessible half-mile loop trail. From Scriber Creek Trail, it's just 700 feet for glimpses of Scriber Lake and 1,300 feet to the overwater dock. This section of trail also crosses Scriber Creek, offering views of the creek from both sides of the trail. 8, scenic values. Since the trail winds through 4 parks, it offers beautiful natural views along its entire length. The most significant of these is through Scriber Lake Park within this phase. Scriber Lake Park is a green oasis, a place where you can completely forget you're in the city, making it an enjoyable trail for walking, contemplation, and birding. 9, enhancement of wildlife habitat. By elevating the trail over creek and wetlands, we are improving hydrology, but also allowing the natural beaver activity to take its course while not suffering loss of use on the trail. Where mitigation is required, habitat management such as removal of invasives, adding native plants, and restoring riparian areas will be addressed. 10, project support. After years of public outreach for this project, the community is excited to see the trail coming together, especially since frequent flooding is a well-known issue, as you can see by these Facebook comments. While developing the 2016 Linwood Transit Center Multimodal Accessibility Plan, we hosted 5 community events, including a walk and talk site visit sponsored by Verdant Health Commission, which is in the picture in the lower left corner. We started public outreach for preliminary design in 2018, which included an online survey, several external group meetings, and an open house for community input. Design has included the public comment periods during the SEPA and Section 4F review process, where the public, community, and business groups, local and tribal governments, state agencies, and other entities with experts could review and comment on SEPA documents. Our 2022 Connect Linwood plan also included an online service and survey and in-person outreach. We've received 3 letters of support so far from the Friends of Scarborough Lake Park, the Edmonds Bicycle Advocacy Group, and Verdant Health Commission, with more on the way. Cost efficiencies. The project team is interdepartmental, being co-managed by the Parks and Public Works departments, since it's both a right-of-way and parks improvement project. This has created cost efficiencies by reducing urban flooding in the park and downstream affecting residents and commercial properties. Also, we have active volunteers thanks to the Friends of Scarborough Lake Park, a volunteer and advocacy group created by a group of bird watchers and fishers in partnership with the Linwood Parks and Recreation Foundation. We plan to engage them with restoration projects along the trail, thus reducing their future maintenance costs. And thank you.
Great, thank you. Nice job. Questions from the committee? Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously the boardwalks are a major cost element in your proposal here. And it's something that I expect much of the committee is not overly familiar with in terms of costs and construction methods. I would appreciate a bit more focus on the boardwalks, and I'd love to see that decking, you know, if perhaps a slide that illustrated the construction technique that you're using and a little verbiage on how that plays into all of the other elements involved here, the wildlife habitat, the water views, and the rationale behind it. How much of this is required for you to do to get up off the ground and be elevated, and how much of that is a choice you made because it's a better deal. So I would like to see more focus on what the boardwalks, you know, their costs and their advantages and their disadvantages. It's tough to swallow. That's a really big cost, and it's hard to just say, okay, fine, on that. You show a $500,000 local grant. Could you amplify on the source of that grant? Is that local, or is that something that came from an agency or otherwise?
I'll have to go back and look at our metrics, Monica. This is an expensive project, and we're seeking multiple grant sources, and we have secured some other grant funding through PSRC, but I don't specifically remember what the 500,000 is from, Monica.
If some of it's from, sorry.
Oh, thank you. She just team chatted me. The $500,000, we will clarify in our presentation, but it is local funds from Sound Transit.
Okay, that's good. I think that helps you with your cost efficiencies argument to show that some of the grants are local in origin. And if you could also do more quantification on your citizen involvement and how much you expect that to impact your costs, that would be good too in the cost efficiencies analysis. Both of those things would help move that forward. Thank you. I think that's all I have.
Perfect. And if I could, Andrew, we will definitely clarify this in our presentation, but all the boardwalk sections are definitely required. They're not a choice.
That's good to hear. And we need to hear that. Personally, I have no problem with the 16-foot width. I think that's actually a good idea. But I think many people would look at that and say, well, you know, that's really more than you need. Why didn't you cut that back to 12? And I think it's worth making the argument. I'd like to hear an argument for 16. I personally support it, but I'd like to hear some argumentation to put that together. It comes across as a real Cadillac proposal. I realize that's not necessarily the case, but it has that, the first look, you look at the money in the distance and you're just like, what? So that it's good to address that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good, thanks, Andy. Lori, go ahead.
Yeah, it's good presentation. Just a couple questions. So was this project funded by RCO before? Because I think it was presented a couple of years ago.
We presented 2 years ago in another category, and we were
Okay.
a second alternate. No, I apologize. My
That's
apologies.
okay.
About our boardwalk trail. We have not brought this project in for RCO.
Okay.
Right.
And in the design of the boardwalk, I'm curious, how are you considering climate change and flows, and how is that factored in terms of just future rainstorm events?
Thank you. I can take this one, Sarah. Lori, great question. We just met with DFW on site yesterday, in fact. And so as part of that, of course, we discussed, code requirements at being 3 feet above floodplain or 3 feet above our wetland system. So as we move forward, all of that will be kind of justified through elevating the trail, right? So we're removing the existing infrastructure and then elevating the trail to be above the 100-year floodplain.
Great. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Other thoughts, comments for Linwood? Okay, not seeing any other hands I had a thought on the other. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I had one comment on just the width of the trail. I heard 12, 14, and 16. I think I did throughout the presentation. And it sounded like the boardwalk was going in at 16 and the trail was 12, but I thought there was a 14 in there. Anyway, just some clarification on that for what it is. I'm not sure if I misheard or.
Maybe there was a typo, but
yeah, there is a typo. One of the
maybe.
slides said one thing. Yeah, one of the slides said one thing, and the presentation said something different.
You're right, actually, Ashley. I think as well, it's the street connection, I believe. So what happens, Lisa, is that the trail will remain at 12 feet with 2-foot shoulders. So anywhere we are at grade, we are maintaining that 12 foot of hard surface with the 2-foot shoulders as recommended by all the agencies. And then when we get to boardwalk trail, we're increasing that to 16 foot wide, primarily because there's a rail, that gives us based on agency requirements, it gives us the 12-foot trail with 2-foot buffers. So
okay,
I'll double check the slides, but we are 12 to 16 feet in all locations.
Thank you.
Good, thanks, Lisa. Other comments or questions? All right, one thought I had on the boardwalk, and maybe you said this and I missed it, but obviously it's required through wet areas, but also if there was no opportunity for avoidance, just for getting around it, like you don't have, that would be good also, just to clarify that, you looked at different alignments and there just was no way to, this is what you got to do to get through that area.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. This entire area is a giant wetland complex. So we did look at alternative alignments, but all of them go through wetland.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thanks you guys. I don't see other hands, but yeah, you'll get some more written comments as well when we get your application back to you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, see you later. All right, moving up to Skagit. Looks like Brian is here. Are you presenting this one, Brian?
Just turning off my mute. Yes, I'll be presenting today.
Okay, great. Whoops, hold on.
Along with some others, but I'll get into that as we
Right.
open
Hold
up.
on, I have to. Go. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Hey, Brian.
How are you?
I can see you now. Good to see you. I'm gonna hand you remote control. All right, go ahead and click on the screen, see if you can activate. All right, looks like you got it. Should be able to use arrow keys.
Yeah, let's try that. Arrow keys. Patrick, is that working for you?
You might, sometimes you have to double click on the screen to kind of get it,
Okay.
take it over.
There.
There it goes.
Okay.
All right.
Hopefully.
No, it didn't do it.
Is there a delay? It didn't seem to.
Often there's just a delay of a few seconds. If it's a longer delay, I can, go ahead and try to advance the slides for you. It looks like it's going now.
This
Should we go back? It's going forward.
It's going forward. So let's
You do arrow back, should take you back.
Here's arrow.
Just
okay.
on your keyboard.
Yeah, it's is there another arrow here, Patrick?
Oh yeah, there you go. Let's try that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we go.
so.
Okay. We're gonna get this.
All right. There we go. That looks like you're opening a slide.
I think we're there. So when is there any introductions on your end, or are we ready to roll?
Oh, whenever you're ready, just go right ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Adams, Director of Skagit County Parks and Recreation. I'm here today with Jose Riefkohl of staff and with Patrick Dillon of Ecos Design. We are here today presenting a project for the Phase 1 development of the Centennial Trail in Skagit County. The phase includes a small trailhead, a 10-foot wide mixed-use paved path, interpretive elements, ADA upgrades, and connection to an existing parking lot. This trail alignment follows the same north-south rail line used for the very successful Centennial Trail in Snohomish County. Upon project completion, the communities of Mount Vernon and Clear Lake will have a separated mixed-use trail for viewing farmlands and natural areas. Although it is a standalone project, it will be the catalyst for the expansion of the Snohomish Centennial Trail through Skagit County. The project is located in Skagit County in the northwest corner of Washington State. Zooming in, you can see the trail is located parallel to State Route 9, 10 minutes east of I-5. The red circle is the proposed trailhead parking, and the red line is our 2.3-mile trail. For orientation, please note the trailhead will always be on the left side of the screen. The service area includes the cities of Mount Vernon, Burlington, and Cedar Woolley. There are 55,000 people in our service area. Adjacent Mount Vernon has a population density of 3,020 per square mile, comparable to larger cities such as Everett. The closest comparable parks are the 23-mile east-west Cascade Trail, as well as the Berry Dairy Trail. This trail will one day connect to these routes. Here is an aerial of the trail, including the communities of Burlington, Mount Vernon, and Clear Lake, whose residents will have access to this trail, both as a destination park and as a non-motorized transportation route. Orienting you to the side, this red dot or proposed trailhead, the alignment connects the community of Clear Lake to the parking area, Clear Lake Beach Park. Here are the proposed elements. Paved 10-foot trailhead for 10 cars with ADA parking, a pedestrian signal, interpretive areas, and link to existing parking area for Clear Lake Beach Park. We will use this image as a key map as we zoom in. Please reference this key map with arrows showing the direction of the image facing south. With the new parking trail alignment shown here for orientation. Moving to the ground level, the landscape view facing north along the road servicing our future parking and with views to Barney Lake. Property owned by the Skagit Land Trust and home to the largest trumpeter swan migratory assembly in their southern range. Looking in all directions from the trailhead, you can see Pastoral Farms, Skagit County's Big Rock Park, and existing trail corridor. Further down, a viewing platform built by Skagit leadership. It's getting ADA retrofits as part of the new project. Farther north, the trail will cross Nookachams Creek, a prolific salmon stream. The trail will be achieved simultaneously of a utility project. It is being achieved. They have prepared the cultural studies, completed wetland identification and mitigation, the stormwater analysis and studies, and are graveling the corridor and placing a bridge over the Nookachams Creek. The PUD have obtained all the permits and their project will be completed into spring of 2022. Our project today is for the final recreation overlay as all trail prep is being done. Here's the location, the trail crossing 9, north end of the trail, entering Clear Lake. The last photo was taken from here and shows how the trail emerges from the forest lands, connecting to an existing parking area for Clear Lake Beach Park. Here's the location for the next 2 ground shots. The first where the trail emerges from the greenway, the second showing the existing paved lot. Project need. One way to measure need is to assess public input. Our comp plan refers to the development of trails and specifically this section of the Centennial Trail as level 1 or highest priority. Our survey data collected for the parks plan indicates our top 3 needs as trails and pathways, open space, natural areas, and water access. Our project satisfies all 3 of those needs. Statewide planning documents revealed the same results. Trails pull highest, the water connectivity is a close second. Another way to weigh need is to measure the inventory of comparable area parks. Although there is a popular east-west linear trail, there is no major north-south linear trail. There are numerous adjacent Snohomish and Whatcom counties, indicating we are being underserved. The Cascade Trail has significant use, and we expect Centennial Trail to serve even a greater number of people due to population proximity. In addition to present use, the area is growing. Housing is approaching from the west as affordability in larger metro areas becomes more of an issue and telecommuting more of an opportunity. Beyond adding inventory, this detached trail is a real linkage between Mount Vernon and Clear Lake for both walkers and cyclists. This project meets the priorities from Washington State Recreation and Conservation Plan by providing for underserved populations. Shown here is a comparison of the tract where the project is located, depicted in orange, and our service area in blue. State averages are shown in green. The median income of our service area is well below the state average. The disabled population is 4% higher than the state average. The mortality rate is significantly higher, suggesting a less healthy population. And finally, the BMI of the service area and the project tract are higher than the statewide average. Increased access to trails and open space will serve this population well. Finally, beyond recreational and health benefits, a trail is highly needed from a transportation perspective by providing a separated path along the dangerous highway. Both our local and state transportation planners acknowledge the safety component. Shoulders are narrow, truck use is high, and the highway is extremely curvy, resulting in limited line of sight. A decade ago, a cyclist was tragically killed by an automobile just 1 mile north of this project. This trail is a very high linkage is our question here. The trail has a very high linkage potential. Shown here on the left is a corridor map with an enlargement to the right. Although our project functions as a standalone trail with parking at each end, our vision is much greater. The current project today is in red. In blue is the Centennial Trail in Snohomish County, 30-mile trail. Our long-term vision is to connect these trail systems. This project will provide the catalyst for that vision. In addition to the high north-south linkage, there is significant linkage potential to the largest east-west trail in Skagit County, the Cascade Trail. It's a 23-mile trail. This trail is 4 miles away and part of the US Route 10, connecting Anacortes to the Idaho border.
We're one slide back because of tech. That was this one.
Okay.
Now we're back.
Linkage between communities. This trail project has very high community linkage. To the north, this trail segment connects the parking area for Clear Lake Beach Park in the town of Clear Lake. To the south, the trailhead is 2,000 feet from the city of Mount Vernon, linking this population to almost 40,000 people. Project design. As a reminder, our project is comprised of the following 5 elements. Paved 10-foot wide trail, 10 vehicle trailhead with ADA parking, a pedestrian crossing signal, interpretive areas, and road striping to connect to existing parking areas for Clear Lake Beach Park. The trail design consists of a 10-foot wide asphalt pathway suitable for walking and rolling. There will be an exposed compacted gravel shoulder to each side of the trail to maintain the trail edge. Our trailhead will be constructed for 10 cars and will include a fully paved ADA space. A kiosk will provide a wayfinding sign and 2 benches, a place where someone may tie a shoe or possibly wait for a friend to arrive. A gate will allow only maintenance vehicles on the trail. Native landscape is going to be added. Here's the location where the trail will cross the highway. The project design team is recommending reduced speeds and a flash beacon for user safety. We are working with WSDOT on addressing the details. We'll have a traffic study underway for addressing ADA and safety, so the final solution will be best for all users. Sustainability. There are many sustainability components to the projects. Ecological factors, reuse of the rail corridor for trail, it minimizes additional ground disturbing impacts to the environment. Preservation of existing mature tree corridor, invasive plant species removed, the native plant species added, and all stormwater infiltrated and treated. And the social factors, trail promotes physical safety for both recreational and transportation economic factors. Paved trail with adequate base course also has lifelong lifespan. Water access and views. There are a number of ways this project provides direct water access. The southern trailhead is immediately adjacent to over 300 acres of land owned by Skagit Land Trusts. There are numerous conservation groups and schools routinely assessing the property from the Skagit County trailhead to perform work such as amphibian surveys or restoring the immense wetland, instilling stewardship ethics in our community. At the northern end of the project, the trail ends at Clear Lake Beach Park, where people swim and fish year-round, well, at least fish year-round. In the middle of the park, the trail bridge crosses Nookachamps Creek, providing elevated views of the Skagit River. Scenic qualities. This section of trail provides tremendous scenic values to recreationalists year-round. From valley views of Big Rock, expansive views of Barney Lake, and the remarkable Trumpeter Swans. With expansive views of fertile farmland and an intimate connection to Nookachamps Creek, this trail has a wealth of scenic value. Enhancement of wildlife habitat. Our project is designed to protect the resource it highlights. The trail service will remain at the top of the railroad berm, allowing unobstructed visual access to adjacent habitats while maintaining appropriate separation and resource protection. Additional environmental benefits is provided by removing all non-native vegetation within the corridor. This includes English ivy, blackberries, loosestrife, and others. We will replace invasives with native fescues, dogwoods, and other native plants to provide forage and cover for birds and wildlife. The Skagit River Delta is home to Puget Sound's largest population of migratory birds. Concentrations of trumpeter swans, bald eagles, marlins are found at Barney Lake area. And the trail is often used by the Audubon Society and the host location for the Birds of Winter program. This unique area will be further enriched with interpretive elements placed along the trail. All trees within the corridor are expected to remain for the benefit of the trail users and wildlife alike. 10, project support. Local newspapers have highlighted the Centennial Trail project. Support has been extremely positive. Community groups volunteered and built an overlook platform. Our trail and stewardship groups are enthusiastic to help. The county commissioners passed a resolution pronouncing their commitment, and the city mayors have written in support of the project, as well as many others. Our Parks Advisory Board elevated this project to top priority status. On file with RCO, we have letters of support from local groups, municipalities, and state agencies, all in agreement the Centennial Trail in Skagit County is highly desirable and long overdue. Cost efficiencies. All of the preliminary work for this trail is scheduled for completion in 2022. 2023 possibly. This preliminary work is paid for by Skagit PUD in exchange for a water line in the trail ROW. This partnership provides a huge cost savings in excess of $1 million for wetland and cultural work, drainage and stormwater studies, plans and permits, trail-based course, and a 200-foot span bridge. We appreciate your consideration today, and we're here to entertain any questions that all of you may have.
All right, thanks, Brian. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just gonna unmute myself. Hey, nice presentation, and well aware of this trail, and but I have a couple of questions here, kind of all themed about community linkage and local trail linkage. The first one is this: the Skagit Land Trust area, where the trail is going to be. Is there any trails that go into that land trust area, or is that going to be visioned out in terms of that is going to be trailless?
Right. Well, they are acquiring some other land up on the other side of Barney Lake, and they have, we've got a really great partnership by Skagit Land Trust, by the way. I mean, we've worked with them on a lot of acquisition projects, including part of the Centennial Trail in this area. And they are open to that. Right now, they have an agreement with a farmer that happened when they acquired some property in that area, so that there's some ongoing opportunities for farming, and they might be able to keep that, but they wanted to be sensitive to the farmers' needs in the beginning, and they are very much interested. You know, and this leads, there's a Ukrainian or a Slavic church right there where this parking lot is on the south end, and it's it's a huge, I don't know, we should almost have a picture of that, but it's a huge facility, and I think there is already a lot of excitement in that organization too. So Big Rock is also the connectivity. It's a park. We have some other phases happening as soon as we complete this that we're going to be rolling with. But this is a popular Mount Vernon community, the Highlands neighborhood, and Clear Lake. There is some incredible, I think, opportunities to link. There is currently a link, and it's very close to those areas.
Yeah, thanks. And that leads me to my second question, which was, again, kind of on the visionary deal. You know, Mount Vernon has a pretty, incredible existing trail system all the way from, River Trail to Little Mountain and such. If you guys could, in your next presentation, show the vision of any potential linkage that would link this trail to downtown Mount Vernon or to any of those other trail systems, that would be really helpful. And then thirdly, have you guys come up with, I mean, you just kind of mentioned it, but a phased in vision of connecting the existing Centennial Trail to the Cascade Trail, and then of course to the existing Centennial Trail?
Mm-hmm. So
like, which would be the next phases?
Right. I can tell you that a few short years ago, we didn't even have all the connections to the section that we have currently. And we are very opportunistic, and we're able to find ways to make all those connections. We have a long-term vision to finish those connections. Snohomish County fortunately didn't have the early litigation on when the rail line abandoned the trails. And so they ended up with the entire corridor through a quiet title process. We don't have all those sections, so it's been a little more difficult. We were able to acquire this 2.3 mile section, and the mayor of Cedar Woolley is very excited about the opportunity to connect to the Cascade Trail. She wants that to happen. And I think and part of that is the catalyst, the excitement around this section that we're doing. She was on the Skagit leadership group a few years ago, helped build the viewing platform. She's very excited about that connection. So yes, I mean, we're hoping that this is a catalyst for growing a lot of excitement so this can happen. The other thing, and I know I'm going to go over my time, but I-5, all the easement space has been taken, all the for fiber optic. There's been a lot of discussions with Skagit County about what opportunities there are on Highway 9 and potential purchase along. So we're opportunistics, and if there's another group that come, much like PUD did, and come in and want to do something further down the corridor, our answer is always going to be yes, but what we want out of this is an open corridor and to work in creating more trail opportunities. So I think the answer is yes, that we are going to create those connections.
Good, thanks. Betsy, go ahead, and then Andy.
Good morning. Thank you for your presentation. I echo Mike's questions and comments just about highlighting some of those connections both to the south and the north. And I think if you can build some of that into your presentation, in particular related to that southern connection from the trailhead, I think that would be really valuable. One comment question relates to the northern terminus at Clear Lake Beach Park. It'd be nice to know a little bit more about kind of how the trail connects into the park and that community. So if there are any additional drawings or aerials, diagrams that we could take a look at, that would help with that connection criterion as well.
And we're going to go beyond the park to the elementary school, it looks like, as far as safe routes to school. So yes, we can show that. We have a slide. That
would be great. And then it was nice to hear about the work on the Highway 9 crossing. If there is any additional design detail available about that, that would be really interesting to see. And then just a presentation comment. It was really nice to have some time at the beginning to get grounded in the site, but I might actually take some of the content that you guys described at the beginning and try to weave that a little bit more into the slides that are focused on the criteria, because I think you were a little redundant in a few sections. And I think if you were able to kind of restructure it a little bit, it would give you more time to talk about some of these linkages that are really important.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Betsy, Andy.
Hey guys, yeah, I would echo Betsy's comments regarding the introduction part, and I was already at that point trying to figure out how those elements worked into my scoring, and then you went on and dealt with it in a case-by-case basis. So that, I think, you could just move some of that stuff down into your case by case, and I think your item by item, and I think it'll go better. The second thing is I'd like to see more on the bridge. Bridge widths, surface, what we're looking at there in terms, and perhaps a better slide for the bridge. That the one that I saw was difficult to interpret in terms of what the widths and lengths were. It'd be nice to know a little bit more about that bridge in terms of its design for a trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the last thing on my list was what are there any connections to Big Rock? And as Mike indicated, I'd like to see a little bit more information about the local trails availability, walking paths, smaller trails, and how they might interact with your proposed trail. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the bridge is an interesting thing, and we might even be able to have a picture of it by the time we present again of it actually in place. But PUD elevated the bridge above wetlands, and essentially there's more than one bridge, but we paid for over the course of 4 years, we're paying for the platform and rails and everything else. It's a very unique bridge. It's very kind of exciting to see how it came about. But the partnership with PUD has been invaluable.
Yeah, we did a bridge like that on the ODT where we used it wasn't a water line, it was a sewer line, but did the same thing and piggybacked on top of the bridge. So the things that are most important to me is generally the trail is better served by a wider bridge than the bridge that a water line might put in there. And what have you guys done to enhance the go ahead.
Yeah, we've done that. So yeah, that's a good point. Let us, all great questions, and I think that we can augment this presentation with all of those elements.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Andy. Mike, did you have something else, or maybe your hands are still up? And Brian, is that bridge separately funded then, like a separate project, but it's part of this corridor, but already paid for? Is that the?
Yeah. So and you know, we can make that clear too. It is in the process of being paid for. Well, PUD is doing a huge water line project. I mean, it's a transmission line. It's a very large scale project where they've had to disturb quite an area when they're putting the gravel back into place. There is a couple of places, one bridge goes over a creek, or the line goes over a creek. They cover it up, and we've got an elevated footbridge with the rails and the platforms. It is being paid for out of our, over the course of 4 years, we're paying $160,000 a year for 4 years for all the rails and structure, or some of the rails and structure. They're paying for essentially the structure that's going on top of the water line that crosses those areas. So we worked out an arrangement with PUD in the process of their bidding tabs and paid for that separately.
Okay, so not as part of this grant. It's already.
No, that's already being funded. Yeah, and in fact,
yeah.
I think we talked about $1 million of value. I think it's much higher than that when you add up all these things, but we'll work on those numbers.
Okay, great. Andy, you got something else?
I just wanted to say, yeah, bring that in, please, because that will really affect how we look at your efficiencies, and that's a big element. Is you're piggybacking on another project, and that really saves money. Thank you.
Great partnership. PUD has been wonderful to work with. Skagit PUD.
Nice. All right. Any final comments or questions? All right, I don't see any more hands. Well, thanks, Brian and Jose. Appreciate it. We'll see you again in August.
We got Jose. He's just joined our team from the U.S. Navy. We brought him in on a bridge program, so he's been with us now for about a year, a little more.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, we're ready for a break, so let's do that. Come on back at 11:05 in about 10 minutes, and we'll get going with Bellevue. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Looks like Cameron's here, as well as Ryan from Bellevue. Welcome, guys. Cameron, are you going to be presenting this one, or Ryan?
I'll be Ryan. Hey, Carl. Yeah, I'll be doing it.
Hey there. Okay, great. Let me pull this up, and then I'll pass controls over to you, Ryan.
Sure.
And stop my video. There you are. All right, click on the screen, see if you can get that. There we go. All right, whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
All right, yeah, looks like it's working well. Check the time. All right, very good. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Ryan Walker, planner, and I'm here with Cameron Parker, Parks Property and Acquisition Manager, and we're both with the Bellevue Parks and Community Services Department, and glad to be with you to discuss the proposed trail connector at Mercer Slough Nature Park, which is an opportunity to partner with the City of Bellevue to fill a critical gap in the trail system that will provide multiple benefits both to the City of Bellevue as well as the surrounding region. So here's a quick look at the situation along 118th Avenue on the left, and you see a wide shoulder not separated from the road. On the right is the anticipated finished product, the trail segment featuring a safe, functional, multi-purpose pathway. So I'll dig into the design and with some further details, but first let's look a bit at the evaluation criteria. And just to start with the regional location. So displayed is a map of the central Puget Sound with the project location, and that's near the intersection of I-405 and I-90 in Bellevue. A closer look at the City of Bellevue location. So the project site is located at the intersection of the Mountain to Sound Greenway and the East Trail. At the south end of Mercer Slough Nature Park. So these regional trails connect with other regional trails in the area, such as the Sammamish River Trail. They also link to local greenways, such as the Lake to Lake Greenway or Trail. So this location is within reach of substantial city parkland as well, in addition to Mercer Slough, and the trail connection will help improve accessibility to other parks as well. You see some of those to the north as well as to the south, including Coal Creek. So drilling down a bit further to the neighborhood scale, the project is located at the southern end of Mercer Slough Nature Park, which is a 330-acre peat bog wetland that feeds into Lake Washington. And this will enhance nearly 9 miles of trail within the park, both on land and water-based trails. All right, so I'll review a little bit about project need, including the importance of tying local and regional trail networks together, how the project supports policy, and review the area demographics. So first, a little bit on inventory and use and various relations for this project. So Mercer Slough contains nearly 9 miles of trails, is one of the most popular parks in the city and includes both water and land trails. It also features the Mercer Slough Environmental Ed Center, which receives thousands of visitors from schools across the region. And this trail segment would really fill a trail gap in the park, as well as further connect the park with the regional trail system and other transport options, including a light rail station coming in 2023 on the western side of the park. So I'm looking at the Mountains to Sound Trail. So this is a regional trail segment that will connect or is connected to by the proposed trail segment. And it is oriented east-west along the southern portion of the Mercer Slough. So Mountain Sound is popular for recreation as well as commuting and was recently expanded towards Victoria and Eastgate. Further extensions are planned and in design right now. And really it's a popular trail with heavy use increasing in recent years as we see. We had a big increase during COVID, but that has also remained higher than 2019 levels overall since from 2021 data as well. And the other regional trail we're looking to connect is the East Trail. So it is perpendicular to the Mountain Sound Trail and is currently in development by King County Parks, as well as other stakeholders. So these trails are expected to be fully open from the Wilburton station. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but up here in the sort of central part of Bellevue to the I-90 steel bridge by 2026. Many sections will have at least an interim trail use of compacted gravel much earlier. So the steel bridge also did receive some funding from the Move Ahead Washington transport package, and potentially a good chunk of that will be coming in the next several years to get going on that critical gap over I-90. So with this connection that we're talking about today, it's really critical to complete that and have it ready for travel between East Trail and Mountain Sound when the East Trail is developed and open, as use of this area is expected to increase quite a bit. And as we see, use of East Trail continues to be high in other areas of the city where we have data on that. Similar to Mountain Sound, big increase in 2020, but we have continued with pretty high levels in 2021. 118th Avenue itself, currently being used as the alternate route, also does have quite a bit of traffic as well, and we expect that to increase when the East Trail is open further. So digging in a little bit to the use, you're looking at a heat map from the fitness app Strava. So heavy use is noted along 118th Avenue, just to the north of the yellow circle, as well as along the Mountain Sound Trail. And we expect this to increase with East Trail development, and the current 118th Avenue shoulder is simply not safe for this level of volume. And here's a detailed look that displays the connections a bit further. And the dash lines are essentially under highway bridges. It's a bit of a legend. So the key takeaway is that while the Mountain Sound and East Trail intersect, they do so with a 60-foot grade difference. So we have 35 feet down here at the Mountain Sound entrance. The steel bridge over I-90 is up at 95 feet. So really the 118th Avenue, as well as Southeast 32nd Street, which I'll mention later on, connection over to East Trail, is really the only viable short-term and perhaps long-term way to connect the two trails. And displayed is some demographic information for the city, as well as for the project census tract. So Bellevue is the 5th largest city in Washington, is now a majority minority city with people of color comprising just over 50% of the population. And the census tract is relatively reflective of an average tract within the city in regards to racial makeup. It also is a pretty young census tract with about half the population under age 35. So looking at some of the SCORT priorities, generally this meets several recommendations and priorities. The first is sustaining and growing legacy of parks, trails, and recommendation of pursuing regional solutions to recreation. Under that, East Side Rail Corridor, now called East Trail, is actually mentioned under that. There's also a priority to improve equity of parks, trails, and conservation lands. So there's 3 recommendations under that priority that this project meets. Looking a little bit further at the data, So this is some for our 2022 Parks and Open Space System Plan update. We held conducted a survey of Bellevue residents, and as usual, we find that trails are very popular, and they're different in Bellevue, just like the SCORP priorities found across the state. So this is showing use. And when we look at frequency, we find similar results. Some of the highly frequented facilities are trails. And reasons for visiting parks to enjoy nature and open space scored the highest, and that really points to the interest in Mercer Slough Nature Park. So this project relates directly to demand as it completes a critical gap in Mercer Slough and unites miles of popular multi-use trails. And finally, there are many local and state planning documents that this project advances, including the system plan, Parks and Open Space System Plan, our pedestrian and bike transportation plan, a comprehensive plan of which we are going to be updating that as well in 2024, as well as some of the other master plans for these trails. All right, moving on to linkages. So this project is really all about linkages. First, linkages between trails. So this graphic depicts the physical linkages that the proposed segment advances, including filling the gap in the internal Mercer Slough Nature Park trail system, completing a section of the Lake to Lake Greenway, part of the Lake to Lake Loop Trail, creating a critical link between the existing Mountains to Sound Trail at the south end of the project along 118th Avenue and the East Trail, currently in development near Southeast 32nd Street. So together, these linkages solve the 60-foot vertical grade challenge between the two trails. At the community scale, Mercer Slough Nature Park is one of the most popular recreation outlets for the residents in downtown Bellevue, as well as other neighborhoods. So here we see the East Trail route from the north leading south to the Wilburton Trestle, which is on the bottom right corner. Ultimately adjacent to the Mercer Slough Nature Park, which is down in the bottom left corner. And connecting local and regional trails creates additional linkages to the south and east, including South Bellevue, Factoria, Renton, and beyond. So this linkage between Mountains to Sound and East Trail reduces barriers for residents and employees to use transportation alternatives to access many jobs and recreation opportunities in Bellevue and East King County. And to give you an additional sense of the many trails, communities, neighborhoods, and facilities, you can see the various trails and connections and the number of cities and parks that they connect with. So there's many safe linkages between all of these site communities here, other parks in the city, as well as other transportation options through incoming light rail. Now to look at a bit of the project design. So existing conditions are mixed in this vicinity. South of the project areas is a protected separated trail connecting to the Mountains to Sound Trail. North of the project area is protected separated trail north of the project area, frequented by pedestrian areas entering Mercer Slough Nature Park. In the middle is a gap that is unprotected from 118th Avenue. It's really narrow and uneven. So this is what we were hoping to solve with installation of a trail connector here. So this photo looks north from the project area. The proposed trail is on the left or the west side of 118th and will connect with Mercer Slough near the utility pole. And a future safe crosswalk will be installed to connect to Southeast 32nd Street, which links to East Trail just a short ways out. And then looking south is the proposed trail connector on the right, where it will link to the Mounts of Sound Trail in the middle of the image. The shoulder really narrows here, and the connection under I-90 will be improved with separate funds. And here's a cross section of the design to compare with existing conditions. The connection will include a 10-foot trail that is flat and separated from 118th Avenue by a 5-foot planted buffer. Additionally, the park edge will be improved on the right-hand side. And the project does not include the adjacent road surface and bike lane, which will be improved through other funds and will remain on 118th Avenue. And this is just switching to a plan view. So the project has been designed to meet all applicable design guidelines. And you can also see the Southeast 32nd Street connection that complements this project. The city will be improving that street for bike and ped access, and King County Parks will construct an access ramp to East Trail. The initial construction estimate is $1.99 million, and we are requesting 50% of the project cost from WWRP, or $997,400. So design is occurring in-house, and estimates reflect our experience constructing on similar conditions, including poor soils. Now I'll take a look at the project from sustainability and stewardship lens. So the city of Bellevue is working to diversify transportation options and move from car-centric culture. So partnerships with the county and state to implement a regional bike network are part of that work. And that includes also connecting with incoming mass transit. Mercer Slough will actually have a station, as I mentioned, on the west side. And then looking at before and after images of the project site, you can see the improved park edge in removing invasive species and replanting with native understory species as well. And this is just an example of stormwater treatment in Bellevue. So with this trail project we're proposing, the planting between the street and trail will filter and treat some stormwater. Design will maximize capture of as much runoff as possible. So currently it is just an open edge leading to the wetland, and this will improve that drastically. And finally, the mission of the Mercer Slough Nature Park is to show by example the benefits and necessity of sustainable ecosystem and environmental stewardship. So it's a common theme of all programming, signage, and other aspects of the park experience. Now for some water views and notes on access. So here are a few shots of Mercer Slough from the project site. And this is really a nice location to view the wetlands as you bike or walk along. And the separated trail will allow a safer space for one to do so. And there are various points to access waterways in the vicinity of this project. All of these locations will now be more accessible by walking or biking from Mercer Slough Nature Park and surrounding neighborhoods because of this trail connection. So scenic values of this project are impressive. Here we see the Wilburton Trestle along East Trail in the foreground, which will provide views of Mercer Slough and the city of Bellevue. And as mentioned, there are views and access to Mercer Slough Nature Park. So despite its proximity to freeways and such, it really does serve as an impressive escape. So this trail project, again, helps complete a gap in that park system by connecting natural surface trails, as well as paved to those, to those seen here. And the project connects the Mounts of Sound Trail, which is a scenic amenity in its own right, with access to Mercer Slough and views of the Cascades, as well as the city of Bellevue. So in looking at wildlife habitat, our approach to wildlife habitat is to avoid impact whenever possible. So in this project, the wetland buffer edge will be improved and overall wildlife habitat will be enhanced. And focusing in on Mercer Slough Nature Park, it's really an urban refuge for wildlife. So this includes single-celled organisms like those the students are looking at on the right, to larger fish and animals as well. And there's broad community support for this project and the grant application. So in Bellevue, residents were recently asked about development priorities. Again, trails were a resounding top choice. And for this project, we received support from King County Parks, Mountains of Sound Greenway Trust, East Trail Partners, and the Cascade Bicycle Club. Another show of support is the current voter approved levy, King County levy renewal, which we're about halfway through. So funds were included for the East Trail in this levy, and development is occurring currently. So other sources that supplement that include private funds and recently approved funds from the Move Ahead Washington package, which are or will supplement development. And the high level of support helps to produce cost efficiencies for this project. There are many supporting projects that increase the impact. I mentioned the East Trail development through the Parks Levy. Also, the Mountains of Sound Trail is now extended to 142nd Place to the east in the Eastgate neighborhood. And that was funded by the city as well as other sources. And the city is also funding the connection to Southeast 32nd from the project site. And finally, I'll mention that there's a street overlay, meaning resurfacing and improvements that will be occurring in 2024 and will be coordinated with this trail project. And that will save funds on site prep. And finally, I'd like to mention that the relationship with East Trail Partners is particularly important here as the East Trail is developed. They help find private dollars and other sources of funding and ensure that the full vision of the East Trail happens, including connecting it to Mercer Slough and the Mountains of Sound Trail. And that's what I have for you today. So thank you for allowing us to present and for your consideration of this grant application. We hope to partner with you on this high priority project moving forward.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Questions from the committee, comments? Andy, go ahead.
Is there a schedule yet for the 32nd Street upgrades to get up to East Trail?
We would hope to have that done in conjunction with this project and ahead of development of the East Trail corridor itself. So if we're looking at an interim trail in that area by 2025 or 2026, we would anticipate doing Southeast 32nd. Probably a similar timeline as this connection.
And that money for the 32nd Street upgrades already allocated?
It is, at least I think most of it is, yeah, correct.
All right.
It would come from the city.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other questions from the committee? Betsy.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Cameron. Thanks for the presentation. I'm curious whether in the project cost efficiencies section, whether it might be possible to add some of that recent funding for the I-90 steel bridge. I don't know if it's solid enough, but that might be another feather in the cap of that section, so to speak.
Sure, I think we can definitely do that. I believe we have about 18 million allocated there. What we aren't quite sure about is the timing exactly, but I know there's a push to have that come sooner rather than later. So hopefully not too long after 2025, 26, that work can begin. Good thought.
Great. Thanks for the detailed presentation.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Alma, and I'm a resident of Olympia, and I'm also an outdoor Afro leader. This is really exciting because we do have a lot of people in the Bellevue area. So I was interested to know, how did you seek the input from this minority, majority city And that was one question. And the second one was, you talked about what you're expecting for the next year on how many people will be using the trail. How did you find that out, or what method did you use? I know those are basic questions, but.
So on the question of outreach, so we just conducted earlier this, last fall really, and earlier this year into this year. As part of the open space system plan, we conducted a survey citywide, put it out on various social media forums, connected with some of different communities that use certain websites such as WeChat, other methods of response. So it was a pretty broad-based outreach program, or as much as we could do. We were still somewhat in COVID, so that limited us a little bit. But it really, the statistics fell in line with what we've seen from other surveys as well, in speaking with the community. And then looking at the usage moving forward, we don't have exact numbers for what the usage will be, but we do anticipate, based on what we found in 2021, that usage will remain high at higher levels than it was in 2019. And with development of trails increasing, including the East Trail in particular, we anticipate that usage will increase quite a lot. I don't know if I mentioned, but the Wilburton Trestle is about 1 mile north of here, 1.5 miles north of here. That will probably be a destination on its own, from which people will eventually ride down to this location from there, or walk or run between those areas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anything else from the committee? Suggestions, questions? All right, I don't see any other hands. Well, thanks, you guys. You'll get some written comments as well from the committee, as well as your grants manager.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate the input. Good being with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Carl.
See ya. All right, looks like Randy is here for state parks. Olympic Discovery Connection. There you are. Hey, Randy.
Hello. Hi, Carl. Hello, everyone.
You're our closer today. Brought you out of the bullpen.
28 slides away from lunch.
That's right. All right, hold on. I will get rid of my face. All right, go ahead and click on the screen, see if you can take control of that. There we go. Looks like it's moving. Good, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Well, great. Thanks a lot. Hello, folks. My name is Randy Klein, and I'm the statewide trail coordinator for Washington State Parks. And I'm here with our area manager, Brian Hageman, to present a proposal to extend the Olympic Discovery Trail through Anderson Lake State Park and upgrade a trailhead to support experiences like those you see in the photos right there. Beginning with scope, there are 4 components to this project. First, it constructs a critically essential half-mile section of trail. Second, it creates a destination trailhead. Third, it balances resource protection and trail use in a fragile forested landscape. And fourth, it builds on funding received from the legislature, providing an opportunity for a shovel-ready project once funding becomes available. For location, the Olympic Discovery Trail and Anderson Lake State Park are both on the Olympic Peninsula in Western Washington, offering an accessible day trip for millions of people up and down the I-5 corridor. The Olympic Discovery Trail, or ODT, as I'll also be referring to it, is shown in pink and blue on this slide, and pink is completed and blue is future trail. And the ODT is a multi-use trail showcasing the beauty of the Olympic Peninsula. 90 miles have been constructed to date, and once completed, it will span 135 miles, connecting communities from Port Townsend in the east to the Pacific Ocean at La Push in the west. And it's an important link in the Great American Rail Trail, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. Anderson Lake State Park is a 490-acre day-use park with a scenic lake, non-motorized boating, fishing, picnic areas, and 8 miles of hiking, biking, and equestrian trails. As I mentioned, we'll be constructing approximately 1/2 mile of the Olympic Discovery Trail through the park. And when combined with the ODT, the proposed trailhead will provide the perfect opportunity for a mid-ride picnic or exploring lakeside trails. Beginning with need, our project is in the Discovery Bay Trail segment, and there's a large and problematic 6-mile gap in this section. It's problematic because trail users frequently detour onto busy and narrow Highway 20, which is shown by the white dashed line. Eliminating this gap is proposed to occur in 3 phases. So phase 1 at the top right was funded in 2020 by an RCO grant and is being constructed by Jefferson County with expected completion in 2024. It connects with a completed trail at the top center of the slide and extends 8 miles south to Anderson Lake State Park, which is where the trail project I'm discussing begins. Phase 3 will begin at the south end of Anderson Lake State Park and go on to Washington Department of Natural Resources lands for the next phase. So I mentioned the detour that's required here, and State Route 20 is officially a highway. As shown in the graphic, it has narrow shoulders, high speeds, deep drainage ditches, tight guardrails, high traffic counts, and trailer truck traffic. So this application will continue the need for this dangerous detour. All right, continuing with need. The project is supported by multiple state and county plans. It's a component of the Peninsula Regional Transportation Plan. And Washington State Parks, we identified this project during 2008 management planning. And the 2019 route recommendation report on the lower right, which went through a full public process, identifies this Anderson Lake trail segment as an important phase in the Olympic Discovery Trail. Continuing with need, the population near this trail is underserved, with lower income and a higher percentage of people with disability than state averages. User counts show yearly average use of approximately 135,000 per year, with thousands more for special events and like races and marathons that occur along the trail. And this is a very high user rate for a community the size of Jefferson County, which is just around 20,000 in population. Continuing with need, this project implements the local shoreline master program. As you can see in photos 1 and 2, the existing unpaved parking area and entry road with inadequate stormwater infrastructure. This is an old park. Contribute to sediment collection in the lake and adjacent wetlands. This project will provide stormwater improvements in conjunction with the trail and trailhead. Slide 3 shows the unpaved equestrian area of the trailhead where horse trailers can damage turf during wet weather. And finally, the outdated restrooms there in photo 4 do not have an accessible route and do not meet accessibility requirements. So all of these facilities will be upgraded as part of this application. All right, and now on to linkage between trails. So just 3 miles north of Anderson Lake State Park, the Olympic Discovery Trail links with the Larry Scott Trail, which is shown in the pink at the top right. And just 11 miles into Port Townsend, Washington, a lovely Victorian seaport. To the south and heading west, the Olympic Discovery Trail links with sections such as the beautiful Spruce Railroad Trail at Lake Crescent. And of course, within Anderson Lake itself, where the trailhead is located, the trail will link with over 8 miles of topographically interesting natural surface hiking, biking, and equestrian trails that provide a different but complementary experience. And finally, in terms of linkage, as I mentioned, this trail is part of the Great American Rail Trail, and this is an ambitious Rails to Trails Conservancy project to create a 3,700-mile trail between Washington, D.C. and Washington Coast. About 50% of the trails that are part of this project are in place now. The ODT is the final Western link, and it represents a commitment on the part of Washington State to support this important trail. Regarding linkage between communities, this trail will connect Port Townsend, the city of Port Townsend, to the urban growth area of Port Hadlock, Irondale, and Chimacum on the right of the slide. And then continuing west on the left, it will connect with Clallam County and the cities of Sequim, Port Angeles, Forks, and finally La Push and the Pacific Ocean. Moving on to criteria 5, project design. As I mentioned, this project was identified by Washington State Parks and partners as early as 2008, but recent legislative funding and Jefferson County leadership have provided some important momentum. In 2020, the Peninsula Trails Coalition and their consultant team facilitated a planning charrette for this trail section we're talking about today. The graphic on the right, and between 2020 and 2022, I also want to mention that Jefferson County and State Park staff conducted multiple site visits to verify the alignment of the trail. And so the graphic on the right was the outcome of this work, and it's the basis for the application that we're submitting. So on this map, the green dashed line is where the county constructed trail will enter the park, and that is slated for completion in 2024 and is funded. The purple dashed line shows what we call the forested section of the ODT route. I'll go into that a little more. And the red dashed line shows an existing natural surface equestrian trail that horses can use to bypass the hardened surface if they choose to do so. And then the blue dashed line is a park entry road, which will be widened and paved and use bike lanes and striping to accommodate trail users on this very low volume and low speed entry road section, and more on that in a moment also. All right, so continuing with design. This drawing shows the design that's already underway. It's been surveyed and it's designed to 30%. The trail enters the state park on the left of the slide from a clear cut and immediately puts us in a sensitive forested and wetland environment. So to balance resource protection and trail construction, this section will use unique elevated concrete decking to avoid wetlands. And then in other areas where we're outside of the wetlands, we will be using asphalt trail 12 feet wide, which is the ODT design standard. The elevated decking will be 10 feet wide and similar to that in the photo, except that it will have full railings to provide an adequate comfort level for trail users, like something you might see on a bridge or a trestle. While this decking is more expensive, it really will protect this important wetland system. Continuing with design, the drawing on the right shows the existing gravel entryway into the park, which will be used as part of the trail section. Now, using this existing road, it minimizes impacts on wetlands and on forests. We do not need to cut trees. We do not need to go through existing wetlands. And this is a very low speed, low volume state park zone road. I want to make the point that this is not a part of the public road system. It's not designed for non-recreational travel. It's 1,600 feet long and dead ends at the main trailhead. So think perhaps of a campground loops where you have kids walking, riding their bikes and people walking. So to accommodate users in this section, there'll be a combination of paving, road widening, bike lanes, and striping, such as you see on the left, to really define the trail. And of course, equestrians are on a separate trail, although they're welcome to use the hardened trail should they choose to. Also, we'll be improving 2 trailhead areas. The first on the left is an existing unpaved equestrian area, and this will be upgraded with an asphalt loop and stormwater facilities to provide trailer parking for 6 vehicles and trailers. And at the top center of the slide is the main Olympic Discovery Trail trailhead, which will accommodate 10 cars and use a paved loop to provide entry and exit, as well as non-motorized boat access. 2 ADA accessible CXT vault toilets will replace the outdated restrooms. And together, these facilities will provide users with a safe parking location and an opportunity for picnicking, lake views, and enjoying the in-park trail system. Continuing with design, we have a professionally prepared and up-to-date cost estimate that we're very confident in. And in the 2022 supplemental budget, the legislature provided state parks with $335,000, which we are currently using to develop the design and permitting documents I've shown. So really getting a head start on the project. We're at 30% design, and we expect to have permits in hand by fall 2023, which is when funding for this RCO grant would be available if we're successful. This provides the opportunity for a shovel-ready project, as well as timing that's aligned with the Jefferson County Trail construction occurring to the north, with some potential efficiencies associated with that timing. Moving on to criteria 6, sustainability. The trail and trailhead use low impact development and best management practices for stormwater. They follow natural ground contours to minimize earth and habitat disturbance. The trail connects to large numbers of people, reducing reliance on cars and providing a safe commuting alternative. And based on grade and servicing, the trail will provide equal access to outdoor recreation for people of all abilities. Finally, materials will be sourced locally, recycling money back into the economy. Moving on to water access and views. Anderson Lake is located just 500 feet from the trail alignment, which is in the same location as the walkers in this photo on the left. The trail sections north and south of the park also provide filtered saltwater views of Discovery Bay. And as I mentioned, just 11 miles north, the ODT provides excellent water access in beautiful Port Townsend. Moving on to scenic values. In Anderson Lake State Park, the cedar, fir, and alder forest and boulder features, such as that shown on the right, really provide a unique experience for folks who want to journey off of the ODT. And again, just a few hundred feet off the Olympic Discovery Trail, you can see freshwater marshes, the lake itself, and higher elevations with beautiful views. Moving on to enhancement of wildlife habitat, like so many areas, residential development and timber harvesting have fragmented habitat. As you can see in this air photo, Anderson Lake is surrounded by many of these uses. The area to the north was clear cut just a few years ago. This project will preserve lake health and forests and wetlands as well, and really provide an oasis within development with intact habitat that will directly benefit wildlife. Moving on to project support, the Olympic Discovery Trail has been a 20-year community conversation, and it's not an overstatement to describe this project as having overwhelming support. In a 2019 public session, the Jefferson County Board of County Commissioners approved a resolution supporting the trail alignment that includes this Anderson Lake Trail section. It's received a lot of input and scrutiny from the public. Based on past support, we are currently reaching out to the organizations that have supported the trail in the past. And the Peninsula Trails Coalition, the organization that's really the driving force behind the Olympic Discovery Trail, have pledged $20,000 in match and also to provide maintenance through their successful Adopt a Trail program. Finally, last slide here, cost efficiency. So this project builds on legislative appropriation for us to do a project design that is currently underway. It provides an opportunity to be chronologically aligned with construction of the ODT section to the north. And our shared site visits and coordination and close relationship with Jefferson County provide opportunity for additional cost efficiencies in the future. So thank you very much for your time. I and Brian, we're glad to answer any questions you have about the project.
It's Randy. Hey, Brian, welcome guys. Mike, go ahead.
Hi, Randy. Good to see you again. Hey, just a couple of quick questions on this. The first is Anderson Park does not have a campground, right? And there's no thoughts for state parks putting a campground in regards to this. Is that correct?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
currently there's not a campground there because ODT will have an increase in park attendance. State Parks is talking about adding some hiker biker campsites, possibly a group camp there. We currently don't have public water available, so we'd have to get some more utilities before we could have overnight, but that conversation is happening.
Yeah, you're thinking just same thing that I was thinking about in terms of the long term, the people who are coming to do the whole ODT and having places to, to stay at night. The second one is that, some of the proposals we look at, there's numbers that the organizations generate in regards to, the popularity that would occur after the funding is done. With you guys, with this particular, section, you're taking two very, popular destinations and creating a link between them so that wherever you start, you end up at some place that's, really cool. Or if you start in the other direction, you're going to end up in a place that's really cool. And there's this thing that we had done a study once about what's the perfect mileage for rail trails, and 20 miles of a round trip, put it into the family friendly as well as the daily exercise mood, and you guys are perfectly in regards to that one as well. So my question to you guys is, have you ever thought about the current number of, I would should put it this way, the increase of ridership that would occur once you build this connection, and then even teasing that number just a little bit more in terms of what percentage of those people who are who will be riding the trail once you make this connection are going to be people who are from, outside of North Olympics, in regards to, the economic value that would bring in to, to that area.
Yeah. So I'll answer a couple of ways, Randy, and you can chime in. So Mike, great questions. Interesting thing, Anderson Lake right now is only open 6 months out of the year, at least to vehicle access. Part of that is that because of the drainage, the road is so bad that the cars really rut up that area. And then if we had equestrian use all year round, it'd really rut up that area. So with these improvements, we would plan on having Anderson Lake open all year round. We know it's going to become a destination. We know it's going to become a trailhead. Right now, it's somewhat of a destination, but we know it's going to become a centered destination because people can go from either direction. They could use it as almost a park and ride. So we anticipate that we will probably see almost twice as much visitors to Anderson Lake than we currently have. With that, State Parks has also asked for 1.2 to 1.3 FTE just to help staff that park. We currently don't have any permanent staffing at Anderson Lake. We have to send rangers and staff all the way from Fort Flagler. So we definitely anticipate that we're going to be on the map, that we're going to be a trailhead. That park, it's a good sized park, it's 490 acres, is something going to be a destination park.
Yeah, that's great. And just to build on that a little bit, I like the idea of teasing out that economic value question, so to speak. And I know Jefferson County and Peninsula Trails Coalition have put some time into that sort of thing. So I will definitely check in with them for the next presentation.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Betsy. Go ahead, and then Andy.
Well, good morning, everyone. Randy and Brian, thanks for your presentation. Just had a question, comment really more than a question. The site plans and the design drawings on slides 15 and 16 in particular are really difficult to read. And the submitted drawings with the application that we have in PDF form are also really difficult to read. For one, on slide 16, I think it would be useful just to identify, you know, where the facilities are connecting in to the ODT, that green dashed line that you highlighted. This one in particular is challenging. Actually, I was noticing the site plans that you had on slide 19 were actually a lot more legible, but they were like submitted as little clippings. And if you could submit those for us just so that we can better understand the proposal for that trailhead location, that would be really beneficial. So I think it's a two-part question. One, I think doing a better job of showing how this connects into the ODT at large. And then two, just making those PDFs that you have up right now available to us. And then just a second, one clarifying question about the park road that you were describing.
Yes.
Did I understand that correctly, that that's staying open and that you're striping it to separate uses, or open to vehicle traffic, or will that be closed to vehicle traffic?
It'll still be open to vehicle traffic. It will be the main access to get the vehicles to the equestrian parking area, and to get the vehicles and the bikes and the hikers and the joggers to the main part of the park, where we're going to have the restrooms, the improved bulletin boards, the kind of traffic circle, and a small boat launch for non-motorized access for the lake. So like you see that picture, it's going to be an idea where it's two-way traffic with bike lanes. And so the traffic will have to adjust, similar to like we talk about a campground road. You look at our campground roads, we have kids on scooters and bikes and RVs, and yet the traffic just kind of flows because at very slow speeds it works. This would be kind of a similar setup to what we have in most of our Washington state parks.
Yeah, that's what I understood. I think a little more clarity about that would be beneficial. And then that's just another reason that it'll be really helpful to see those more detailed drawings, just to understand the separation and the spatial standards being used there. So thank you.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Betsy. That's very helpful. I just wanted to mention that that was a discussion that occurred as we were developing the design about the road, or should we be using and creating an additional trail. The entryway area is really very constrained between the lake and existing wetlands. It's really challenging. So anyway, just informationally, but I appreciate those suggestions, and I will take them and make them.
No, that's great. And just pointing out that the constraints are there, and there are environmental benefits to sticking with the existing road prism. That's just good background for us to have as we look through the criteria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. Andy, go ahead.
Hey, guys. I note that the project on the south end ends at Anderson Lake Road, and the park continues south of Anderson Lake Road, and the next phase 3 of the Olympic Discovery Trail is going to have to go through that somewhere. I would appreciate it if it were possible to, well, ideally it would be nice to include the rest of that piece into this proposal, so that we're all the way through the park on a single grant, instead of having to come back and do another piece of the park when we get there. I realize that the phase 3 design may not be sufficiently complete to allow that to happen, but it would be good if you can do whatever you can to show how that phase 3 is going to connect in, and where it's going to go. And as I say, if at all possible, it'd be really nice to put that into this proposal, and to get all the way through the park on a single shot, would be advantageous. I recognize the hurdles there, but at least address how that phase 3 part is going to work with regards to the park. Thank you. That's my only comment.
No, thanks very much. Brian, did you have anything you wanted to say on that, or it's fine?
So Andrew, you're absolutely right. Anderson Lake is a fairly busy road, so we're working with county to have some speed restrictions at that crossing, some flashing lights, rumble strips, some of those type of things. So we're going to have to work with county. So part of it is we didn't know exactly where we were crossing. That strip of state parks is quite small on the other side of the road, and then we get into DNR land. So we also want to make sure that we're working with them with the perfect trail alignment. So I don't know if we know exactly where that's going to be yet.
Yes, and yeah, just to build on that, were there to be another grant proposal, say from Department of Natural Resources or from Jefferson County, the proposal doesn't need to come from state parks. We can allow them, use of that land, allow them to include that land in the proposal. But I will definitely flesh that out a little better for the next presentation.
Thank you.
Is only this little triangle the park, and then this is DNR down here? Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. It was all the same green. I thought the park boundary extended, but.
Yeah, green for public property, but different management.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Other comments or questions on this one? Okay, I don't see any. Thanks, you guys. You'll get some written comments, of course, as well. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Hey, Carl, where was I on time?
You're about 2 minutes over.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was going to put that in my comments, but you'll have to just, trim that down a bit.
You got it.
For the final. Or talk
Awesome.
faster.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. We made it to the end. If advisory committee members can hang on just for 10 minutes or so, we can wrap up. Just want to stop the recording and the streaming. So yeah, but that's the end of technical review.